obviously a well-balanced breakfast. I've kind of gone around the room and chatted with some people, and who's feeling lively and energetic on this wonderful Friday morning? Oh wow! That was like the weather out there. Anybody else feeling energetic and happy and just excited to be at Melrose this morning? Alright, I think that's the best we're going to get this morning. Who's been to social media breakfast before? Wow, a few people. And who knows Ernest Barbaric? Yeah. So if this is your first time at Social Media Breakfast, the purpose of these events are to have a place where people in the social media business or who are interested about social media for themselves or their organizations can hang out and learn some cool stuff about digital media. And so what that means is you're going to get a really cool presentation today from Ernest. In addition to that, after this event, there's going to be networking. There's a ton of really good experienced digital media and social media people in here that have a lot of great wisdom they'd love to share. So let's network and talk to people and and hang out. So we'd like to thank Melrose for hosting us today and feeding us today. How has everybody had a chance to have some breakfast this morning? It was a really good venue and really helped us out. I'm just going to get Tony here to talk a little bit about something that's happening here at Melrose.
How's everyone doing? So yeah, we just wanted to share with you guys next Thursday we're actually doing a shoe drive. So we're partnered with Elevated HR, and from 4 till 7 at our new location at the Cowboys Casino, just right beside the old Stampede Casino. We'll be doing a shoe drive from 4 to 7 to benefit at Making Changes' new campaign they have. It's called My Best Friend's Closet. And what it is they're trying to help underprivileged teenage girls to kind of boost their confidence, things like that, and have a set of wardrobe and gym shoes and everything like that going into the school year. So school starts the following week, and this coming Thursday is when we're doing it.
Cool, thanks, Tony. And thanks for housing us and having social media people in here. We also like to thank our food sponsor, which is Dominic Taggart from Chaos Consulting, and Mr. Taggart, are you
want to speak to a crowd like this again, but I wanted to do this today to say thank you to a whole lot of people. But first of all, I'm going to mention Chaos just because to legitimately expense this amount, I should actually mention my business. And I get asked quite a lot if I actually have a day job. And I do actually I work with accounting software. So I have a piece that sits on top of QuickBooks that works for project management, a POS system, a point of sale system that sits on top of QuickBooks for a retail store. And I work with a Microsoft house that does some bigger jobs for small to mid-sized business. So that's more than you're going to hear about my business ever in public again. I was fortunate enough, I call it serendipity, I think that I happened to be at the first social media breakfast. There was 20 people in the room. And Q Design, some of you know Scott and Alex, had this idea that they wanted to start social media breakfast in Calgary. And they put out an invite for only 20 people, and I just happened to see it and happened to go. We talked with Scott a lot in the next year about his vision, about what he wanted to do. And even things he talked about in the first and second meeting are things we still haven't actually done. And so we had the idea of starting at Edmonton. And so we did that, and they're running very successfully independently up there. They've been getting a crowd of 60 people. They just moved to a new location now, so they can actually do a larger crowd. So Startup Edmonton has donated space. So that one's all great. And about a year ago, Scott contacted me and said that they weren't able to, they couldn't do a leadership role for this event any longer. Their business was too busy, and they wanted me to take over that role. So I can't believe it's been a year already. So part of it is a year just to say thanks for you for supporting this for so many. It's our number 31st one. And I appreciate the support. And Melrose seemed like the best place to have this. They've been so supportive in the community for so many events that so many of you host. They're great to work with, and so we want to say a big thank you to Melrose. And the last thing I just want to say is that there's a committee of people that get this done every day, and so usually Kevin mentions the committee, but if he doesn't mind, I'm going to do it today. Eric has been helping us, Sebastian, for a long time doing the live stream. When we don't have a hard line, he tapes it and uploads the video later for you guys to watch later. We have Kevin is a great host. You have to give him a hand. He's always a great host. Liaison with our speakers, and Heather Ozzie is doing that now, and Heather is somewhere. Please put up your pen. Oh, perfect, there she is. Catherine is where in the back. Catherine is the one that is actually responsible for sending out the press releases, and I can tell you right now that every single time the press release is late, it is totally my fault. She does it as soon as she gets information, so it's always my fault for getting it to her late, so I'm going to say that. And Des, where are you? Please put up your hand. Des helps with getting equipment here, making sure that that we have everything for projection, for sound. Some venues have something in-house, others don't. We need to give a big thank you to Matrix Video. We don't talk about them enough, but they have, for a lot of years, given us anything that we need. We just give them a list of equipment, and they supply for whatever venue we're in. So we're always grateful to Matrix, and if you have any video needs done, that's a great company to support. And somebody that we don't see very often, like Mike Spear from Genome Alberta, pardon me, is also on our community. So we appreciate the help that he does. So I wanted to say thank you, and I'm also going to mention one event. We like to sponsor, or like to talk about different social media events or different events that are helping you with information. And Red Deer is hosting one in November that I just wanted to mention. On November the 1st, Scott Stratton is going to be doing a book tour and stopping in Red Deer. He's not going to Calgary Edmonton this time, he's only going to be in Red Deer. November the 1st in the afternoon. His book is called Unawesome is Unacceptable. And so if you guys want to check the link for that, I didn't bring a slide or anything, but if you want to check the link for that, that might be an event that you might be interested in attending. So thanks again for coming.
I always forget to introduce myself. My name is Kevin D. Find me on Twitter, Kevin DCA. So let's show some social media love right now and take 30 seconds and send out a tweet that thanks Donna MCT and Melrose Red Mile for hosting and feeding us at SMByyc. Is anybody not on Twitter? And don't be afraid, we are not going to ostracize here. Alright? No one's reading on Twitter, everybody's on Twitter. So, we have had a slew of past sponsors which we're really grateful for, and our ongoing sponsors are Chaos Consulting, MarketWire, Genome Alberta, Business Institute Group, Matrix, KevinHayes.ca, Calgary Speed Dating, and Hanger Cat. Thanks a lot for going through all our community people. If you want to get involved with social media breakfast, please contact me on the committee. We're always looking for sponsors of social media breakfast events, and so the first thing that we need for a sponsor is a venue, and a venue can be anywhere as long as it can hold about 100 people. We usually have 80 to 130 people respond with about 100 to 110 people showing up. So if you've got a venue, please contact us at our Twitter handle is at SMByyc. You can to find out all the information. Oh, and we also need food sponsors as well. So it costs about $350 to feed 100 people. So if you think you can do that, do one of those two things. We'd love to hear from you, and I'll talk nice about you for a little bit while I'm here. You can follow us on SMByyc to get all the information on social media breakfast. And if you're tweeting today, please tag with the hashtag SMByyc. Social Media Breakfast in Edmonton is is the last Friday of every month from 8:30 to 10:30. So, before I get on to our speaker today, does anyone hear about some social media news that just recently happened? A little bit of a lesson? Well, I've got the mic, so I guess it's really a rhetorical question. Anybody know Pabst beer? Blue Ribbon beer? Anybody drink that beer? Maybe? Yeah, maybe some of us you can put some of that up this weekend. Pabst beer recently in the news had one of their social media, the person in charge of their social media in Canada, tweet out something that he thought was really hilarious and thought his audience would engage, and it was quite actually a derogatory comment about women. So he tweets this, throws it up, thinks it's going to be hilarious, and the social media community sees this and just has a heyday with him. So Pabst Canada is actually owned by Siemens. Siemens licenses out the name and produces the beer up here and has no affiliation to the Pabst in North America. So this gentleman in charge of the social media tweets out this comment, super inappropriate, and the whole social media community jumps on him. And then Pabst in North America was like, whoa, 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 we're not having anything to do with this guy. You should take that down. You're owned by Siemens. So brand damage done there. They can repair it and they can get over it. I don't know what happened to the gentleman, but I'm pretty sure he probably got fired and is no longer in charge of social media there. So the lesson here is that if you're going to put somebody in charge of your social media, make sure they're not a jerk. Make sure they have some common sense. And make sure they're mature enough. That's my lesson for today. So let's talk about the real speaker coming up. His name is Mr. Ernest Barbaric. So he's a digital marketing strategist, and his content has been featured in little syndications like the Globe and Mail, Forbes.com, Alberta Venture, Social Media Today. Has anybody heard of those little websites? Yeah, they're pretty influential. He's also developed the social media course at Mount Royal University. I believe it's the only one actually in Calgary, maybe Alberta, that he gets certified in social media. So, real smart guy, tons of great stuff. If you want to get a hold of him, his Twitter handle is @barbaric, or you can reach him at ernestbarbaric.com. Good friend of mine, smart guy, Ernest Barbaric.
How's this sound? You guys can hear me okay? Alright. Oops, let's not do that. Here's something that you might not know. Actually, Kevin was just on local TV the other day, featured as a social media strategist. Let's give him a hand for being on TV. Way to go, Kevin. I also see my friend Jen Chang is wearing pants today. That's a good day. So good morning, all, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Ernest Barbaric, and I'm a digital marketing strategist. I work out right here in Calgary. I'm one of the founders of the Social Media for Business Certificate program at Mount Royal, where I also teach a couple of other courses as well. I'm going to give you a fair warning. I drank some Red Bull this morning, and I tend to talk really fast in general, so I need you to listen really fast as well. When I'm really excited, that's another thing that kind of speeds up my rate of speech, so I'm excited to share some of these ideas with you today. Like Kevin mentioned, you can find me on Twitter at @ebarbaric, and you can check out my blog at ernestbarbaric.com. So anyways, enough about me. What we're here to talk about today is the business or the world of our post-social world. Usually at these kind of presentations, they get kicked off with statistics that are supposed to astound or surprise you in order to build audience engagement between you and I. And so here are some stats that we're going to start off with. 37%. 4 out of every 10. 250 million.
Great stats.
This is a pie chart. With 30% standing out slightly. So now that we have that out of the way, we're going to get back to the business that we're actually here today. My sense is that there's a significant shift happening in the marketing and social world. I've been away for a few months, and I came back about a couple of weeks ago, and I looked at what was going on, and there's been a lot of change. Now, I wanted to put everything into simple terms that made sense to me, and I've made 3 observations that I'll share with you today about where we're heading and the challenges that we are going to face as marketers in the coming months and years. And then at the end of that, I'm going to attempt to provide somewhat of a solution about how to build a foundation for the changes that we're about to face, to get ready for a post-social world. Some of the things I'm about to tell you are not necessarily things that people that do what I do would want to share with you. And some of the things I'm about to tell you are not necessarily things that people that do what I do even want to know themselves. So, because they represent change. They challenge our authority, and at the end of the day, they challenge our streams of revenue. The first thing I'll tell you about is that social media has grown too complex. If you look at Facebook, when they first got started in 2007, it used to be a fairly simple network. You could go out there, maybe share some photos, share some stories, and over the years, it's grown more and more complex. Even more so, that complexity has accelerated after the IPO was went live. Their focus has shifted away from users and us towards shareholders. And by focusing on shareholders, their focus has shifted more towards advertisers. So the user experience has been suffering. And due to that, Facebook has been growing more and more complex. It used to be simple, but now we have marketplace, ticker, timeline, Facebook pages, Facebook groups, apps, sponsored stories, a number of different advertising venues and all that kind of stuff. It's grown into a very complex creature that came out of something that was supposed to be very, very simple. The second thing that's been happening with Facebook, and I would probably argue most of the other social media networks, is that engagement with brands has been dropping. There was a stat that's probably outdated by now that says only about 16% of a brand's fans see a brand's page updates. Now, what Facebook has done to solve that problem is they've introduced some new advertising models who basically says that, hey, we are going to let you reach your audience that you already earned, but you gotta just pay us a little bit of money. And that's through sponsored stories and sponsored posts and that kind of stuff. So you now have to pay to reach an audience that you already earned. And Facebook has been growing more and more complex. If we look at Twitter, Twitter has been introducing more feature recently. However, they have been very slow to introduce them, and I think that's one of the things that's actually going to buoy them through this period of time. They've seen what's happened with Facebook, especially after the IPO, in terms of the stock price dropping to half what it started off with. Their valuation has dropped, and they're struggling to sort of keep up with the shareholder pressures. The one thing that is interesting about Twitter is that recently there was an article published that says, here, we have some insider information about where Twitter is heading. And where Twitter is heading, some of the first comps that I was able to see, is they're trying to introduce more functionality to make it work and look more like Facebook. Now, not only that, there was an article published actually just last night that talks about how Twitter's head of, I think, media relations is basically saying that they've seen a lot of engagement between Twitter and TV shows, so it seems that their focus is also close to changing towards the mainstream media, supporting TV shows and movies and that kind of stuff. Moving on for Twitter, how about Foursquare? Foursquare used to be a fairly simple application. You could basically go on there, you could check into a place like this, you could decide to share it on Facebook or share it on Twitter. They have been introducing more and more features. They won the check-in war by far. So Gowalla and Facebook Places and all that kind of stuff have been defeated by Foursquare. But if you look at Foursquare, it now has nearby friends, suggestions, likes, photos. With the latest app update, they've also introduced a photo map, I believe it's called. So you can actually now geotag your photos and put them on a map. So Foursquare is also growing more complex. They're trying to win the business. They're trying to get venues like this to actually go on Foursquare and use some of the features that they've had for a long time. The interesting thing with that is in a place like Calgary, there's very few places that actually use Foursquare, and there's even fewer places of those that are using it properly and using any of the promotion materials and things and opportunities that they have. Let's talk about Instagram. Instagram has now been integrated with Foursquare. You can assign Instagram pictures to Foursquare. It's been bought out by Facebook a little while ago, and it's also been growing in complexity. They now have a photo map, and they've been more integrated with Facebook, obviously, because of their relationship. Let's talk about LinkedIn. How many of you were here when LinkedIn came through to talk about personal branding? Okay. The one thing they talked about the most was LinkedIn Today, which is a feature that LinkedIn has pushed out in order to get business people to go to LinkedIn first, in order to find out all the information, all the stories, updates on brands, and all this kind of stuff, and all the news. So they've also grown in complexity. Those are some of the networks that we talked about. There's a ton more. All of these networks are growing in complexity. And because they're growing in complexity, what they're attempting to do is they're attempting to become a hub of your online experience. Just the way AOL was, if anybody can remember those. Which leads us to the conclusion that it's becoming too complex, and complexity is the enemy of usability. Complexity is a major part, a major reason that I believe that engagement is dropping on these networks. If it's a pain in the ass to use, if I can't see what I want to see, if I can't do what I want to do, then why am I doing it? I'm going to use it less. Complexity is the enemy of usability, and even more importantly, when it comes to our space, complexity is the enemy of fun. And social media was supposed to be all about fun, not marketing our ads. You were supposed to go on there, catch up with your friends, share some stories, share some updates about your life, share some photos. We were never meant to go there to be marketed to. If you take the fun away out of social media, all you have left is work. We don't want to be working in our spare time. We want to do something fun. The rise of complexity is the first issue that we're facing. The second issue is that it's harder to stand out. There is now more competition on social media networks than there ever was before. 2 years ago, or even more, it used to be a competitive advantage to be on social media where your competitors weren't. But now, it seems that every single brand that is on Facebook, because to create a Facebook page only takes 5 minutes, or you can pay a consultant to give you $500 to actually create the page in 5 minutes. The fact is that there is less engagement. There are less people clicking like, there are less people clicking follow, because it's all the same. All of the pages, all of the offers, the campaigns, it's all similar. And the fact is that we, as regular people, so take your marketing hat off, we don't want to be friends with more brands than people. We don't want that. Our attention span has also been dropping. It's dropped from 9 seconds to 7 seconds to 5 seconds. There's also studies now saying 2.5 seconds or something like that, which is pretty ridiculous. On your way down here to this venue today, you probably saw 100 plus ads. On bus benches, on different radio stations, for example, on the backs of cars, on billboards. Do you remember any of them? Do you remember the last promoted tweet? Chances are that you don't. Now, I want to switch into a different gear here. So, this social revolution that we were supposed to experience never had a chance to change things. Because what ended up happening is that as soon as everybody started focusing on money and revenue, that's when we got introduced to the traditional way of doing things. So we had this really cool thing that nobody knew what to do with, that was changing communications, changing marketing, and all that kind of stuff. And what ended up happening is we shoehorned it into a traditional model, which is where we see CPM, cost per thousand, reach, frequency, and all of these traditional ways of doing things now being the way we do things on social. We never had a chance to significantly change things. And I also want to say that marketers are ruining social media. And the reason why I can tell you this is because of this. If you think back to when Facebook first got started in 2007, most of us sort of hopped on. We're connecting with friends and all that kind of stuff. There was no brands around. Nobody really knew what the social media thing was, and why would I go on there? It's a bunch of 12-year-olds talking about their cats or whatever else. And Facebook took a while. Facebook took maybe 2 or 3 years before first brands started hopping on there to kind of see what was going on, connecting with customers and all this kind of stuff. If you fast forward to, for example, Pinterest, how long was it since Pinterest launched to when the first brand was on there looking for social media connections? It was a very short amount of time. I would probably say weeks, if not days. So you had sort of a lag time between Facebook launching and brands being on there, being shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, to now when Pinterest launches, or whatever the next social media thing is, brands being on there pretty much almost immediately. Social networks don't have a chance anymore. Speaking of coming in first, which is another thing that I want to touch on here in a little bit, I want to share something with you. I'm going to burn something into your mind that cannot be undone. And you'll have to forgive me for this, but it's meant to make a point. The point is that those who believed in social first were able to make significant inroads. They were able to gain an audience, and they were able to get a competitive advantage over their competition. That is now much harder to obtain. If you were to now start from zero and have, for example, maybe not Starbucks, but like a small little coffee shop in downtown Calgary, it would be way harder to gain an audience and attention than it was 2 years ago. So the first movers had a significant advantage in social. And I would even say that now that has changed, because now you just don't have that chance. So the first in the space used to be somewhat of an advantage. It's not really an advantage anymore. Now, how many of you are familiar with SocialCam? How many of you actually use SocialCam? 1, 2? Okay, 2. I want you to meet the rock star of SocialCam. This person has more followers than Britney Spears or any MC Hammer or any. MC Hammer, for some reason, is number 2. Too legit to quit, I guess. So this is the rock star of SocialCam, and she has, her name is Roxy, she has 1.6 million followers. I'm going to show you this, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion. And again, I do apologize. Sorry?
I don't know if they can hear this.
She doesn't even see us. She's busy.
Can you say hi to SocialCam for me? Say drive-through bomb. Drive-through bomb. Wait.
So that's a clip. And I will leave you with that, and make of it what you will. I told you it was going to be painful. This person has 1.6 million followers. And so let's go back to our point. If you look at her videos, they're mostly like this. Actually, the first time I watched one, it was a bomb on something else, on another coffee shop, and I was like, my God. And so that's what we've created. We've created that. Okay, you and I. So anyways, back to our point. Social media has become a red ocean. There is so much competition, so much sameness, that it's a gargantuan task to stand out. So what can you do about it? Here's one of the solutions that I might propose. You need to raise the bar. You need to do something significant and significantly different. On an even field, which is what social media is right now, because everybody's got a page, everybody's trying to get the same attention of the same amount of people. You have to push past the pain point of your competition in order to gain an advantage. For example, locally, some of you might know the realtor by the name of Kelly Scar. Kelly Scar has recently started producing professionally cut and edited videos for each one of his properties. Now, they're not just, hey, here's a house and here's a couple of rooms. He's actually going out golfing and showing, hey, this is the golf course right next to your house. He's actually going out to the lake with his kids and showing, hey, this is what it would be like if you own this house, you can come to this lake and go for a drive, or do anything else like that. So he's actually taking the time to produce something that's going to be painful for his competition to come up with. Now, you have to realize that there are about 5,400 realtors in Calgary. There's very few that are actually doing this kind of stuff, that are actually being very successful. WestJet, for example, looks for feedback and comments online in real time in order to respond to people's concerns. That is pain. That is a painful process. Zappos has built an entire company on customer service. They've invested heavily into hiring the right people, the right fit, and building them up with culture. They even offer people money to leave the company after the training period. They offer them $3,000, and I believe they later offer them $5,000 to leave. The people that stay are the right fit. That is pain. That is a very painful process. I believe that on even footing, which is what social media is right now, doing things that are valuable to our customers, but painful enough for our competition to cringe when they think about spending money or the time to do it, is the advantage. The next point I want to talk about is new technology. The pace of innovation has been just incredible. We were just talking about MacBook Airs here in a little bit, and it's hard to imagine for me to start off with a Commodore 64 that you plug into your TV. And I used to have one of those with a cassette tape. And so when we wanted to copy a game, we had to go to our friends that had a dub deck that you can actually copy a tape to, that we've come this far. Particularly, I want to talk about mobile. If I were to tell you that mobile is going to be big, you would probably have to tell me that 2007 call that they want their marketing cliche back. That's done. We already know it's going to be big. But here's how it works. Mobile is directly related to social. More importantly, mobile is directly related to communication, which is the business that we're actually in. We're in the business of communication. The point I want to make is that it's not an app that's going to make you better than your competition. There's been so many apps created for so many brands and businesses that have failed miserably because nobody cares. I don't want to have 400 million apps on this phone. I want to have what's interesting to me. I don't want to have, for example, and I'm sorry to do this, a Melrose app. I have certain apps that I use, and that's as far as it's going to go. Not every brand needs an app. What I want to do, and here's the real application of this, if I walk down the street, and for example, I'm managing a communications team at a local non-for-profit, I can look up on Yelp and see what restaurants are close to us, and I can look at the reviews. Another thing that I might want to do is say, hey, there's a Twitter link here, so why don't I tweet them and see, is it possible for my team to come for lunch to your establishment today? How much would it cost? How about if we were to host a Christmas party? And the thing is, whoever doesn't get a prompt reply, which is what we're now accustomed to, especially through mobile, especially through Twitter, it's a lost opportunity. So if I do that with 3 restaurants, the first one that replies and the 2 that don't, the 2 that don't are now having a lost opportunity. The real deal with mobile, it's not that it's a mobile phone, you can put apps on it and all this other kind of stuff. The real thing with mobile is forcing us as marketers to move into real-time marketing. That is the next frontier, where speed and responsiveness is the new currency. If we take this a step further, some of you might, first of all, let me ask you this. How many of you guys have the iPhone 4S? Okay, perfect. So the iPhone 4S came out with Siri technology. Now it's still in its infant stages and it's going to get improved over time, but I want you to think about this. Siri is basically one of those, I don't know what they call it, assistant or whatever. You basically push a button, you ask your phone anything, and your phone answers it for you. Hey, where's the closest Chinese restaurant? Hey, what time is my appointment tomorrow? Can you book me an appointment with my dentist 3 days from now? And the phone will do the work. This is still in its pretty much infant stages. But I want you to think about this. If I can use my phone and use it, for example, with the headphones or a Bluetooth headset, watch what happens. I'm not looking at my phone anymore. That is a lost opportunity for us. And that is a lost opportunity for all of those people that are trying to use the mobile platform in a way that it's no longer going to be applicable a year from now. Because technology like Siri is coming. Now I want you to think about something else as well. Companies that provide you with this, Apple, Samsung, Rogers, TELUS, or any other provider, they don't need marketing. They don't need advertising. They already have our money. Because we paid them for the phone, we already paid them for the service. They don't need this. Where does that leave us as marketers? We can get completely cut out of the loop because if a technology like Siri makes you not look at your phone, then what? What if you can talk to your computer? Now, the one thing I want to say with that is if a technology like Siri does take off, and I believe that it will, nobody is going to listen to a pre-call ad. Hey Siri, I'd like you to phone Mom. Okay, wait for the sponsorship message from TELUS. Did you know that? No. Or we're not going to be able to listen to an answer. Hey, what time is my appointment? Hey, did you know that Subway is just around the corner? No. These are the things that we are not going to tolerate, and that again is going to change the way that things work. You are not going to be able to put your logo on a boot-up screen on the iPhone 5. That's just not the way things work, because that changes things. Now, how many of you actually remember or use the QR codes? This is the last time I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. I hate when people do that. How many of you are familiar with NFC? Don't raise your hand. Apologize. NFC is a new technology that's actually getting rolled out in all the new generation of phones. It stands for Near Field Communications. It uses low-power Bluetooth technology that will allow you to use your phone as a wallet and allow you to pick up information from your phone. So with QR codes, you have to download an app, scan the thing. It might take you somewhere else. If you didn't scan it correctly, and then the funny thing that I've seen there were people that start putting QR codes because they thought it was the cool mobile thing to do it on billboards, the backs of buses. What the hell? Are you serious? Hey, let me drive down here and see if I can scan the thing. No. So NFC is actually going to change quite a few things. Last time I was in New York for a conference, I had the opportunity to experience the Google Wallet. Google Wallet was something that Google is testing out with, and that was, we're using the next generation of Nexus phones. And this was in a retail store. So basically what ended up happening is they give us phones, they load them up with a gift card and some other stuff, basically. And you can link your credit card to it. So what you can do now is, hey, there's a promotion on this shirt here. Tap, okay, now I have 30% off. Tap, oh, I just got a $10 gift certificate. And when I go to pay for all this, I can say, hey, you know what, I like this shirt, here's the stuff, give me your phone, boom. The phone automatically introduces all of your gift cards, all of your loyalty cards, and it's connected for the rest with your credit card. So basically now we're getting rid of our wallet as well. Now, this is just one application. What it could mean for marketers is a number of different things. You might be able to put like a little, they look like this, they're like little dots. You might be able to stick a dot on somewhere, for example, downtown, in order to get people to get information about things. This is a technology that's just around the corner. iPhone 5 will probably have NFC. The next Nexus phone already has NFC. This is something that we need to think about because it's leapfrogging QR codes. So what I would say is that we, as marketers, need to rethink mobile. We need to think about what a regular person experiences. What a regular person, how are they using their phone? What are they looking for? How can you best serve them without creating an application? If you were to tell me a forecast, this is what I believe is going to happen in the coming years. I believe that we're going to have one device that integrates hardware and software. It could be Apple, it could be something else. That's going to pull all the information that's relevant to you and serve it to you in some sort of a mobile fashion. We're going to see something that's going to be a seamless experience, something like an evolved version, a much advanced version of augmented reality, which some of you have already seen, for example, with the Sixth Sense from MIT or the Google Glasses, which are already collecting information just feeding into your glasses. Our technology is accelerating at such a pace that quite probably we'll have some sort of really cool augmented reality thing very shortly, which again changes things. That's where mobile may go. So now that we've covered that, you may ask, now what? What I would say is to look for opportunities beyond social. We want to look at beyond tools and tactics, so that if the environment changes, if social media is no longer 3 years from now what it is right now, we want to be able to still sail through the storm. I thought about these challenges and I came up with 3 ways that we can build a foundation that's going to help us sail through the post-social world. The first thing we want to look at is reputation. It's all about reputation. Reputation, I believe, is the new battleground. So even if Siri does take over, it still has to pull data from somewhere. It might be a combination of sentiment online, it could be a combination of reviews, check-ins, your social connections, or anything else like that, or likes. The fate of reputation rests in the interaction that your brand has online and offline. That is something to be taken seriously and invested into. It means 2 things. It means that your brand or the client that you're working with has to provide a remarkable experience on and offline, enough to create a positive ping or a positive sentiment somewhere online. It also means dealing with the angry minority. The angry minority are those people that have had a bad experience, bad service, or maybe they just like to complain. How are you going to deal with the angry minority? This is where community managers come into play. This is where PR comes into play, but PR, as we know it, is dead. It's no longer public relations. The new PR is about personal relations. It's about dealing with people on a one-on-one basis. That is the one thing that's going to buoy your reputation over the coming years. The next thing I want to look at is the agility through strategy. Most of us tend to operate in a very tactical space. We look for short-term gains with our clients or maybe some of our own businesses and some of our brands. We look at a campaign, a sale, a promotion. All of that hinges on what there exists right now. Regardless of how innovative you think your Instagram contest might be, it's in the best interest of the company, the brand, or the client that you're working with to think strategically. If we have a chance to go from this tactical space and zoom out, take a step back, and chart out a roadmap from here's where we are today, here's where we see our company and what we stand for 3, 5, 7, 10 years down the road, what happens is when you take that step back, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google+, whatever, They basically become means to an end. And that's the way we need to look at social. Because here's what's happening. If and why it makes sense to use Facebook, use it. When it no longer serves their purpose, whatever the social media network is, you have to let them go and focus on a different asset. Because what happened to all the brands that are on MySpace? You don't think MySpace is going to happen again? The last thing I want to look at is the community aspect. And here's the way I want you to think about it. You can take away my Facebook page, but you can't take away my community. That should be our marketers' modus operandi from this point forward. We should seek to build a community for ourselves, for our brand, or for our client that lives on our own turf. At this time, it could mean something like building an email list, or an RSS subscription list, or a mobile subscription list, or anything else like that you control. Because any particular social media network might not be around in 3 years. And it means that we have lost a significant portion of the audience that we worked so hard to obtain. It's their turf, their rules. If someone were to go ahead and sue Facebook for a patent infringement, and Facebook shuts down business pages for 3 weeks, that is a significant portion of your audience that you do not have access to. If you invested the time into building an audience on Facebook, if Facebook shuts down pages for 3 weeks, what now? What's going to happen then? We should aim to build a community that can withstand changes in the environment, preferably on your own turf. Now I want to ask you a question, and I have one final point that I'm going to conclude this with on time, by the way. What do you think about what you just heard? What are your thoughts about where we're heading? Do you agree or disagree with any of the things that I've discussed here today? And you can raise your arm. Go ahead.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have one agree. Win.
I disagree.
I can go home now. Go ahead.
We live at the intersection of the reputation and attention economies. Okay, as you said, you can get someone's attention, but if your reputation isn't way up high, forget it. I mean, you've just shot yourself in the foot.
So what we're looking at here is that we're living at the intersection of reputation and attention. So what we want to do is get the attention of somebody, but if our reputation isn't good enough, it's going to fail. So that campaign is a loss. Okay, anything else? Go ahead. You had your hand up.
I was just saying I disagreed.
You disagreed with everything?
Well, you had one agreed and one disagreed.
Okay. So we're even now, we're one-on-one. Any other comments or anything else that you've heard here today? Well, how do you feel about the mobile space? Go ahead.
I think that you brought the conversation to the user experience, like you said. I mean, it seems like some common sense to say, okay, absolutely, I'm not going to listen to somebody tell me about an advertisement before I get the information I want. However, if you hadn't said it that way, I probably would have logically been like, okay, so mobile marketing, same applications, we're going to have the same ideas, right? Because we just get into the laziness factor, which then takes away from the value. But the other thing I was going to say is that for as far as community goes, absolutely, completely, 150% agree. I mean, if you do not have, people on the ground, whatever, in some capacity, then you might as well not have them online, really. I mean, you need to have some sort of, it's like a validity statement, right? So that people say, okay, you are real, and that goes hand in hand with reputation. So anyway, I agree.
That's perfect. I'm really glad to hear that. So basically, one of the points was that to think about the user experience when it comes to mobile, not just push out apps or whatever it is else. You got to think about how a person uses a mobile phone, because most of us as marketers, we get so mired in apps and really cool things, we don't think about what is that person looking for. How can you best actually serve them without thinking marketing and advertising? Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned Yelp and Siri, for example.
Right.
Or, Yelp is integrated into Siri. So if someone says, I
Or
feel
will
like
it?
Italian, well, not yet in Canada, but in the US, right? You say, I feel like Italian. Siri's going to parse that, saying, you want to eat at an Italian restaurant, let me find the Italian restaurants near you and
Yes.
rank them. Which one is highest ranked in Yelp, and it will give you the list ordered according to that criteria. So like I said, it's reputation and attention intersecting.
I would say a couple of things there as well, because what ends up happening is that it's not necessarily going to be just Yelp. It could be a combination of Yelp, Google Places. There, I believe, Siri might be the next search engine. And you have to think that Siri is owned by Apple, not Google or Yahoo or any of those other places, not Bing. because they're going to be able to build their own algorithm that's connecting your social space, your reviews, sentiment, or mine, or any of these other kind of things in order to serve you with the best result. And now you have to think, if you were into SEO, you're always looking for the first page. If we're looking at something like Siri, you're looking for number one. That's it. And based on that algorithm, it could mean which place has the most social connections, which place has the best reputation, which place is the closest to you. It could be a number of other factors. That, I believe, is going to be a significant shift in the marketing and social space and search space. Go ahead.
I really like your public relations is now changing to personal relations. How do you keep that personal touch when you're trying to acquire mass audience?
I believe that that's the difference between marketing and PR. The second thing is with PR, we've always looked at it as sort of like, hey, let's get some press, and let's get press to talk about us in order for people to think about us. My belief is that PR, especially in the social space where your reputation matters if you come up with search results, and if people actually do business with you, we're looking at talking to individuals. Now, the reason I mentioned the angry minority is because, generally speaking, the people that have had a bad experience are the ones that are going to write about it. So you, as a PR, personal relationships, personal relations, sorry, I'm totally messing up my words here. You are going to be responsible for coddling those kind of people and making things right. That job is going to suck. But that's the way that things are, because you have to think about this. If you were to go buy a car today, you're looking at a Honda Accord for my family. And I say, hey, I have 2 kids, and one of my kids goes to hockey, and there's 4 of us, and sometimes we like to go camping. Hey, let's look at some reviews. So there's Michael from Alabama somewhere that says, hey, I also have 2 kids, we like to go swamping with our, a Honda Accord, and we just like to, go out and have fun and do all this kind of stuff. But I can tell you that this car really sucks on the highway. And, when there's 4 of us, it just like something doesn't feel right. Well, they don't feel safe in it. So that person out of nowhere in Alabama is affecting your decision to buy something right here from a dealership here in town. That is the effect of reputation. So you, as that brand's manager, as the PR person for that brand, now have to deal with that situation. How are you going to do that? I don't know, I don't have the answer, but it's just kind of the way things are going. Go ahead.
I think that the rumors of the demise of traditional advertising are exaggerated, greatly exaggerated. When you say that nobody's going to listen to an ad before they call their mom, had you told me 8 years ago that I would agree to watch an advertisement before I watch somebody's video that they made at home.
Do you agree to watch it though?
They show it.
They do show it, but do you agree to watch it?
And they watch the video afterwards.
Does it make you feel really good about being forced to watch a video for a dentist before you watch a review on a motorcycle?
I'm sure that they want it to make me feel good.
Yeah.
Number of impressions.
But I'll tell you what, if you don't feel good, are you going to buy that brand?
I'm not sure that I have feelings about it one way or the other. I'll tell you what I have is familiarity when I see it.
Okay, but if you have familiarity that's sort of based on a negative thing, you interrupted me from doing something that I wanted to do, versus, hey, let's talk about a Honda Accord, versus, hey, a Honda Accord did this really cool content marketing thing. They've had a road race across Canada with like families of 4, and that's just interesting to watch with. That's a very different sentiment. And you're right, I mean, traditional marketing might not go away ever. But the fact is this, it's changing. We have less attention, even though traditional, so the thing that you're talking about is one of the things that I mentioned a little bit earlier. We've shoehorned social into a traditional marketing model. So now we had this really cool thing where you can watch whatever you want, connect with whoever you want. Now you're being forced to watch a freaking commercial before I watch a video that I want to see on YouTube. That sucks. I hate it. When I was looking at motorcycle reviews to buy my next motorcycle that I bought last year, I saw so many Mormon ads, it was ridiculous. And I have no idea why. And it doesn't make me feel any different about Mormons. Like, I mean, it's cool, you guys do your own thing, I'll do my own thing, it's totally fine. But why the hell do I want to watch a Mormon commercial before I watch a motorcycle review? It doesn't make any sense to me. And those are some of the things that are creating a dissonance in our experience, because those people, the advertisers, aren't thinking about my experience. They're thinking about, I'm going to shove my brand into your face by force. You're not going to get to see what you want to see until you see what I want you to see. If something comes up, and this is an interesting thing, if something comes up that lets you circumvent that, you're going to use it. TiVo, for example. If something comes up where I can actually watch the content that I want to see, such as, hey, this is a really cool thing that Honda did for their core line. Like, for example, if you guys remember those, is it Toyota Sienna, like their van? Where rolling with, where they were doing that really funny thing with like rapping parents and all this kind of stuff. That's an interesting thing to watch. And that's a very different experience that, hey, this is a Toyota Sienna, let's watch it go around corners and like, Mach speed and spin its tires, which never happens. And because it's front wheel drive. And then, so let's just do this really cool thing, and then we're gonna go off-roading with it. Kids are jumping up from one way and into the other, and now you can watch your video about parenting and breastfeeding if you really want. No, that's just, I don't think that makes good sense. That doesn't make for a good customer experience. And one more question, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we should all be making a push for subliminal marketing.
Subliminal marketing, perfect. Go ahead.
The BNG Olympics 2012 out 2 minutes on YouTube, probably over 6 million views. Here's an example of content marketing. It isn't subliminal. It rips your heart out of your chest and basically shoves it right back in.
And another great example of that is the Volkswagen ad with the kid that's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Right? So we watched it before it was actually released on TV. That's very cool. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up with one conclusion that I want to make and I want to give it back to Kevin. There has been a debate for a very long time about what metrics matter. Do numbers really matter? Followers, likes, and all this kind of stuff. And here's the way I look at it. You could have 10,000 followers, you could have 200 followers. There's something to be said about the social proof and a delusive influence of a large number, because most of us naturally tend to gravitate towards a crowd. But how many will actually do something if you ask them? How much of your audience or community or whatever else will download a document, make a phone call, register for an email list, or make a purchase? The only metric that makes sense in that particular case is action. With that, thank you very much.
Mr. Ernest Barbaric, was that not rock or what? That was awesome. Tell me what it is. I hope you guys all got some playing notes. It's kind of funny, I read an article not too long ago that had this 13-year-old just devastated that Facebook bought Instagram, and her sentiments were, Facebook is for old people. And then I talked to my 17-year-old niece, and she's like, Facebook? Who uses that anymore? And I'm like, oh my God, it is for the old people. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't think I was that old, but anyway. Thanks so much, Ernest, for that. And please, let's not support Roxy by going home and watching more of her videos. That was unbelievable. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming out. I totally got blank here. I don't think I need to mention anybody else. Melrose, thanks again. Don Tagger from Chaos Consulting, thanks for hosting us. We'll be here September again, or we'll have our next September event posted on our Twitter feed at SMByyc. Sebastian Salazar from HangerCat, thanks for hosting us today, and I'm Kevin Hayes, thanks for coming out. And you know what? As always, let's just take the rest of the day off, eh? Let's just take it off, all right? Thanks for coming out.